Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zack, and this week I've been driving the 2026 Chevy Trax Activ. Up front is a 1.2 liter turbocharged inline 3, and down below is a 6-speed automatic transmission. Now I'm super excited to be making this video here today because I've spent some time now with the Chevy Trax, and it's been several years since I've driven one of these. This is the entry-level, most affordable Chevy product you can get on sale today. Now, this Activ trim level is up at about $28,000, but you can get them for a lot cheaper than that. And so today we're going to be taking a look at what you get for under 30 grand from the Bowtie automaker. But if you'd like to submit your own vehicle and have it reviewed here on the channel, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. And if you'd like to see all my videos weeks or sometimes months in advance, you can head on over to my Patreon for only $5 a month. But let's get back to that 1.2 liter turbo under the hood. Well, it is a pretty small displacement engine, and it makes about 137 horsepower. You're not going anywhere very quickly. However, it's fine enough for this application. It works, it does the job, it doesn't complain about it, and it's fine. At this price point, you are going to sacrifice some things, and performance is usually one of them, unless you go to the Honda Civic SI. That's manual only, and some people don't want that. Here we go here, a nice turn and foot to the floor. It gets up out of its way. I felt totally safe with that. I was getting out of people's ways. I wasn't a lug on the street. I wasn't a bump on the log. I wasn't a safety hazard. That's all I can really ask for at this price point. Now, like I said, paired to it is a 6-speed automatic transmission. The big story there is that it's not a CVT. This does not have a CVT like some of the Chevy products that came before it, so I'm just happy to see that. It's responsive enough, it does a good enough job, and I'm happy with that. Last but not least about the drivetrain, the Chevy Trax is front-wheel drive only. Currently, there is no all-wheel drive version offered, and I do think that that's a downside for sure, especially the Activ trim level. I would expect to have all-wheel drive because most vehicles in this segment offer it, so a little sad to see that. How does it feel to drive the Chevy Trax? Drives very, very normal. The ride is a little bit harsher than you might find in other compact SUVs, but honestly, it's to be expected. This is a sub $30,000 car, so it's not gonna ride like a cloud. But it's pretty direct, it's easy to drive, it's easy to see out of, and I would be confident not only letting my son or daughter drive this vehicle, but also grandparents. You know, they're gonna have an easy time getting in and out. It's decently responsive and just very, very straightforward. It is a well-driving economy vehicle. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I get completely digital gauges. Absolutely love this. I do think it's a little bit cluttered. GM and Toyota share this, where their digital gauge clusters kind of have a lot going on. I feel like they got so excited to make a digital gauge cluster that they just gave us every little piece of information we could ever physically want, and it does kind of muddy up the overall look. On the steering wheel on the left, we do have our cruise control options as well as heated steering wheel. Absolutely loving that on a day like today. And off to the right, we have our selectors, voice commands, and phone options. Off to the left, we get a big climate control vent. We get our gauge dimmer switch and headlight switch. Love that it has a headlight switch. Not all modern GM cars do. And moving on to the door, we have lock and unlock, power mirrors, and power windows. Moving into the center, we get our infotainment display. This does have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. So this is a GM product that still retains Apple CarPlay. I don't know how long the Chevy Trax will, but for the time being here in 2026, it still has Apple CarPlay. Love that. And it has some very basic features in here. It's easy to navigate, it's easy to see, a lot easier to see at a glance than the gauge cluster, which is a little backwards, but that's okay. And of course, we do have a nice backup camera. Down below that, we get 2 climate control vents, and we get our climate controls themselves. I would have liked to have seen dual zone climate here at $28,000. My Mazda 3 was $25,000, and that has dual zone. So it's just one of those nice features I would have liked. You don't get that here. Single zone, but we do get heated seats, so I guess that is a benefit. Then we do get a USB-A, USB-C, and a 12-volt outlet, along with a wireless charger, so all your charging needs will be met here in the Chevy Trax. Then we have our auto start stop on and off, our lane keep assist on and off, and the shifter. Shifter's pretty standard. It's been used for many, many years by Chevy, GM, and all of their subsidiaries. It works well enough, and I don't have any complaints, but it is a little bit more old school styled, if you like that. And off to the right, we have cup holders. We will do a big friggin' bottle test, and it fails, but the cup holders are fine for any other small friggin' bottle. Then we do get the power parking brake, a cubby, as well as a center console, and the seats. The seats are comfortable. They are leather. They have this nice active stitching in it, not only in the headrest, but in the piping of the seats as well, and they are heated. The driver's seat is power, which is, again, a really nice feature to have, and I've enjoyed here in the Chevy Trax. However, speaking of seats, we do have back seats, so let's see if you're able to bring other people with you. All right, getting in the back of the Chevy Trax Activ. Feeling rather active today. And with my driving position, let's close the door here. With my seat in its driving position, my knees are not hitting the seat in front of me. This is actually pretty spacious for an economy car. Now, GM has always been very good about their economy cars with the back seats. Going back to the Chevy Spark, the Chevy Sonic, Pontiac G6, all of those vehicles had pretty sizable back seats, and this carries on that tradition. We have the same leather back here. I do like that they did the sort of greenish leather here in the middle, and then just the inserts for the two seats. I don't seem to have a center console. We do have USB-C and USB-A, along with a big cubby, and my head doesn't hit the ceiling. I do get a light, which is pretty nice, but my head doesn't hit the ceiling, which is very nice. I can take 3 additional people back here in comfort, and it's not going to be a problem. That's a very, very nice thing for an economy car. For a sub $30,000 car, this is way better than my Mazda 3 in terms of back seats. So if you're, for some reason, between a Chevy Trax and a Mazda 3, and you're like, I carry people around quite a bit, the Chevy Trax is going to be a lot better. A lot better. Let's hop into the very back. We'll take a quick look at the trunk and cargo space, and then we'll talk about the looks. Right around the back of the Trax Activ, button here. Oh, and it is not a power trunk, and it's a little bit heavy, but not awful. It's easily done. Once we are back here, nothing crazy to write home about. Because it is an economy car, we're not going to get that 12-volt outlet, coffee maker, stereo system, whatever you might be expecting. We can pull this up. We do get a spare tire, not always a given here in vehicles like this, so very, very nice to see that. Grab handle up here, nice and simple, pull it down. There you go. That's the back of the Chevy Trax. Now we got to talk about the looks, and I do think that this is a relatively handsome vehicle, especially here in the active trim level with this sort of drab, gray, green. I like that look to it. I think it has a modern look to it, and this to me really reminds me, not only in the way that it looks, but also in the way that it drives, as a American Subaru Crosstrek. It kind of has that road presence on road, at least. Off road, I would take the Crosstrek every day of the week. But you sit up high, but it's not a high vehicle. Kind of has that sporty, ready for anything kind of look to it. And I like that a lot. I think the Chevy Trax does a lot of things well, and the looks are certainly one of them. With all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving the Chevy Trax from 2026? Well, I like this vehicle. I do like driving it. My hesitation comes honestly in the reliability. I drove one back in 2024, and that particular vehicle was plagued with so many issues that it really steered me away from the Chevy Trax. The power window switches stopped working, the AC went out, the backup camera gave out, all under 2,000 miles. However, in doing some research, the first year of production for the Trax was rated very, very low, but since then their approval rating and reliability rating have gone up. So Chevy has been putting in the elbow grease to make these cars more reliable, and I'm sure the vehicle that I drove was one of the first made, and there's going to be some teething issues. So the reliability isn't out of the question, but it's just not as bad as it used to be, and Chevy continues to strive to make it better. I think you get a fair amount for your under $30,000 price tag. The infotainment is great. I get heated seats and a heated steering wheel. I get a sunroof, and it is a pretty complete package. I think for a brand new car with no miles on it, I think it's a relatively good price. I would have liked to have seen dual zone climate. That would have really, really been nice. But honestly, if that's my one complaint, I think I'm doing okay here in the Chevy Trax. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Chevy for loaning me this Trax for the last week. Huge thank you to G. Schmitz for facilitating the cleaning and delivery of this vehicle. And of course, the Midwest Automotive Media Association. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.